Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Roger Dubuis launched the sports activity watches in the early 2000s, and among them was the Easy Diver. This is the Roger Dubuis Easy Diver 40 millimeters, by far the most wearable of the Easy Diver dive watch series. So in red gold, it's 40 millimeters in diameter, 12.7 millimeters thick, and then from lug tip to lug tip, 50.6 millimeters. And this is a 28-piece limited edition as you see it here. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see it wears well, comfortably. It's not as broad across the wrist as most of the Easy Divers, and I will say this is the only Easy Diver I've ever encountered that I could recommend for a wrist my size. I think down to a wrist size of 15 centimeters circumference, you can wear this watch well, and it's not terribly thick. As boisterous as the design is and as large as the other sports activity watches are, this is a timepiece that you could wear under a cuff. It's not a dress watch, but it's definitely more viable across a broad range of uses than, for example, 46 millimeter versions of the same. Taking a quick look at how it's put together, you can see that there is carbon fiber inserted in the hollows of the lugs, and then the gap between the strap and the case is closed by a carbon fiber end piece that's bifurcated by the center link, and the center link allows the strap to remain stable. It won't bend or distort despite being very, very wide. You can also see that the strap is held in by screws and bars, so it's going to stay there. That is quite robust. There's a little bit of a design molded into the strap, so it's not just a big undifferentiated expanse of matte rubber, and you can see it is very thick, so it's never going to tear. Roger Dubuis branding with a little golf ball pattern on the bottom, many dimples, and you can see sports activity watch. The sports activity watch is launched back in 2004, so you get a sense of when this model line was born. We have a single full deployant clasp, which you'll note is held to the strap using screws and bars. Polished internally, it also has a repeating Roger Dubuis motif inside the clasp, which I like quite a bit. You can also see the maker's mark, as Roger Dubuis invested in a big way in the late 90s through the early 2000s to make cases, make movements, hairsprings, balances, escapements, be a full integrated manufacturer. So the clasps, the cases, all of that's done in-house. Easy Diver, Roger Dubuis, a combination of media blasted matte finishing and polish with a wave motif across the top. Carlos Diaz, who was Roger Dubuis' founding partner alongside the watchmaker himself, Diaz had control over the design at this phase in the company's history, and he was a exuberant fellow. He liked big watches, he liked extravagant designs. He was okay with being polarizing because he thought the people who love your watch will buy it, the people who hate it will not, and if people are indifferent, they won't buy it. So you may as well have at least a small group of people who love the watch because they can be counted on to purchase it. A watch that's boring, no one's going to like it enough to get it, which is why this says just for friends on the back. Just for friends, the people who get the notion, who look at this watch and say, yes, I identify with this design sensibility. So the case itself is descended from the Sympathy case, which was one of the original two model lines of Roger Dubuis back in 1995. Sympathy and Homage. The Sympathy had this large hybrid of angles and curves with sharp outward points at the corners, and that's exactly what we have right here. We have a combination of satination and polish, and then we have a bezel. You can hear it. That has a nice crisp action. It's a 120 click bezel, but do take note, there is no luminescent index inside this bezel, so while you can use it for timing, it is not the most practical timing instrument, but it is better than nothing, making this one of the more practical Roger Dubuis watches. The dial, which has a carbon fiber pattern, is also sectored, and you can see that echoes the pattern on the strap. We have applique indices, which are rhodium plated, along with the hands at center to explode off the dial base, and you can see a combination of different colors and textures here. We'll do a quick loom shot. As you can see, the hands with red luminova, they're visible, but they're considerably less legible than the indices themselves. The idea was to be profoundly idiosyncratic, and the watch is that. Turning it over, You can see the fruits of the investments in a full manufacture. The watch, 300 meters water resistant. You can see this is number 8 of 28, but it is powered by the RD14, an automatic winding movement. It's unidirectional winding, which is more efficient than bidirectional. It has ceramic rotor bearings for high efficiency winding. 48-hour power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate. It does have stop seconds, which is a rare feature on high horology movements. And as you can see, it bears the Poisson de Genève. It is a Geneva seal movement. All of that, and it pivots on 33 joules. It is adjusted in 5 positions like a chronometer. So this is a true high horology movement. You can see that it is beautifully rendered with a combination of multiple finishings on the rotor itself, circular Côte de Genève on the bridges. There's mirrored anglage to a high degree. You can also see screw heads are black polished with chamfered slots and chamfered circumference. And I'll show you those black polished screws a little bit better there. There's engine turning or perlage on the base plate. It is a legitimate high horology movement, and the closer you get and the more you see, the more you like it. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of the most wearable Roger Dubuis Easy Diver and one of the most accessible points of entry to a sports watch with Geneva seal finish.